So what I'm going to do, and I'm so glad to have Curtis Price to work with me this evening. Um, Jasmine, if you can share your screen with us so we can go through the presentation. And Curtis, feel free to jump in anytime. Curtis has been the top agent for several years running, and as you all know, he closed his $1 million buyer. So, I mean, it's just appropriate. Curtis has been one of those people from the beginning, since he's been at Porterhouse. He was here at the very beginning. He's attended every single training. He does exactly what we teach him to do. He does exactly as I was told to do, exactly what Jasmine tells you to do. And as a result, he's been reaping a lot of success. So this is the portion of Porterhouse that's very near and dear to me, and that's working with buyers. And I'm gonna say this preemptively: whenever you're working with buyers, and we have people on who are at different levels, and one thing that I can honestly say is that working with buyers is a lot of psychology. Okay, you're essentially holding people's hand through one of the most awesome and daunting and exciting and expensive transactions that they might ever have in their entire life. So there's nothing that should surprise you, and hopefully through the experience that we have and doing so many transactions and Curtis had, we'll be able to answer any questions that you might have. But really, besides the technical aspect of it, of just walking through the process, which we're going to do tonight, is really a bunch of psychology, and really just knowing people and knowing what their apprehensions are going to be. And one of the best tools to mitigate that is one of the things that we advocate very strongly here at Porterhouse, and that's making sure you do a strong buyer's consultation. So we're not going to do the buyer's consultation tonight. We're going to walk you through the steps in working with buyers. And what we'll do next week is we'll work with you guys and we'll actually go through the buyer's consultation itself. And there's two forms of buyer's consultation. Prior to COVID, Curtis will tell you, the only buyer's consultation we had, it wasn't by slides per se. We actually sat down with you in person. We had a 52-page book. We went through a number of the pages. We didn't go through all the pages, of course, but it took about an hour and a half. But it does quite a few things, and we're going to talk about those things tonight. So with that being said, Jasmine, if you can go to the next slide. The first step in working with buyers is to actually get a buyer. And we talk about converting leads to buyers. So just because you get a lead is basically a person who may or may not be interested in what you're selling, but you have their information, you have their curiosity for a product. You might have seen a lot of salespeople say, hey, I want to introduce you to my business. That's a way to get a lead. We don't do that in real estate. People pretty much know what we do. So when we are converting leads, what we're saying is that you have to take the person from just being a person who's interested, possibly maybe next year, to actually a person that's ready to buy now. And then even after you get them to that point, they're not a buyer until you actually close that deal. They're more in a buyer vein when you can get them to write an offer or allow you to write an offer and actually go show houses. So converting leads to buyers is the most significant thing you can do. My go-to strategy has been and probably always will be, no matter who it is that I'm talking to, if they say the words, I'm thinking about buying a house, the first thing that I'm going to say was, do you have a pre-approval? That's the response. That's my answer. That's probably going to always be my answer. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to be like, no, I don't have a pre-approval. What's my next thing I'm going to tell them, Curtis? As soon as they say, no, I don't have a pre-approval.
We have a phenomenal lender that I can refer you to that we can get you pre-approved so we can see exactly how much home you can afford.
That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to take it a step further, Curtis. You know me, I'm a little bit more aggressive. I'm going to say, let me get you over to my lender friend, Michael Cooper, right now. I'm going to take their information. I'm gonna say, why don't you give me your cell phone number? And I said, and I'll send you over to my lender friend, Mike Cooper. Then I started to sing Mike Cooper's praise. Mike Cooper has been working with our company for a number of years, and around about 7 or 8 years. Mike Cooper's been working with us for about 7 or 8 years. He's an awesome lender. He knows the market inside and out. He goes to bat for our clients, which is why we love him. And over the time that we've been working with Mike Cooper, I dare say that he's about 99% in closing. So you can go get a pre-approval from anybody else in the world, but can they close that loan? And I don't want you to get a pre-approval and then we get down the road and then we find out he can't get you into that house. Mike Cooper's going to go the extra mile to make sure that if he gives you a pre-approval letter, he's going to close it. So it doesn't hurt you. It's going to take about 15 minutes. He's going to ask you for a little bit of information. He's going to pull some information on you. And if he prints out the pre-approval, that's a golden ticket. That's what I tell him. It's no, well, I'm not ready right now. I'm going to wait till next year. They're selling you. And Curtis, you probably heard me say this in many trainings. There's going to be a transaction that's going to take place at every interaction. Either they're going to sell you or you're going to sell them. And them selling you looks like them telling you, well, I can't do it right now. My grandmother's sick and it's going to be life events that's going to happen. And of course, there are some serious situations where people just cannot buy right now for whatever reason. They're going through a divorce. That's probably one of the worst times to buy. But most buyers are going to give you, what's some of the excuses you've heard, Curtis?
I mean, just the kind of the typical, I'm not ready, I don't know. The other nice thing about Michael Cooper is it makes you look like you are the professional. You do know the business. You do need to get a lender. You need to be pre-approved, those things that have to happen anyway. And what it also will do is it will kind of take the pressure off of you, and really you're going to, in essence, put it on Michael Cooper so that he can get them pre-approved, but you're just kind of already starting to navigate them through that buying process. What one quick thing I'll also will do within that converting leads to buyers is you're getting their phone number, you're getting their email address so that you can obviously give it over to Michael Cooper so he can start to run their information, he can make the call, but you can then also take that email, that name, drop it right into your constant contact. Depending on kind of the feel of the relationship, you might even be like, hey, if you want, I could even set up a quick property search for you. What's the areas you're looking at? What kind of price range, just so you can start to get a feel for what the market is before you're even pre-approved. So I'm trying to get as many ways I can touch them, within that initial conversation, within that initial, meet and greet, whatever, But yeah.
And one of the things, Curtis, that's great. One of the things that you want to do if you do that strategy, what Curtis says, before you know what their price range is, don't start them out high. Start them out at the average, about 250 price range. And then if they get approved for more, then that's great. If they get approved if you start them out too high and they get approved for less, they're going to be a little bit disappointed with you. But Curtis, you hit the nail on the head. The idea is for you to establish your presence immediately as the professional. Most people do not know the first step in the home buying process. The first step in the home buying process is to get a pre-approval. That's the first step. Without the pre-approval, you cannot buy a house unless you got cash. If you have cash, then we can talk. Most people that you run into are not going to have cash. All right. Most of the people that you're going to run into are going to be first-time home buyers that are interested in buying. Or if they already have a house, they kind of know the routine. But guess what? We still want to do a buyer's consultation with them. The reason why we still want to do a buyer's consultation is because even if they've bought a house before, some of the things that they used to could do, they cannot do anymore because of all of the RESPA laws and all of the restrictions that have been put in place since the market collapsed. But the pre-approval is so important. And there's a difference between a pre-qual and a pre-approval. Pre-qual is a pre-qualification. You can use a pre-qualification, but what it means is that the lender probably didn't pull a lot of information and run it through a desktop underwriting system that printed out and said that we definitely can't get this person pre-approved for this much loan. Mr. Cooper, however, what I want to say about him, I don't care what he prints it on, I call it a golden ticket. Again, in the time that we work with Mr. Cooper, he's never given us a pre-approval that he has not been able to close. Anything you want to say about that, Curtis?
Yeah, actually, you know, just the golden ticket language is powerful. You know, that's in my repertoire. Like and I let them know, like, hey, you know, once Mr. Cooper prints out that pre-approval letter for you, you know, he's basically printed out a golden ticket, and now we can go shopping.
We can go shopping, and I love that language, Curtis. You and I both probably say go shopping. That's shopping. Key, guys. Let's go shopping. People love shopping, so when you say that, and they're going to shop on Mike Cooper's dime, yeah, they want to go shop. Go ahead, Curtis.
Well, no, and that same letter that you guys are looking at is going to be part of your offer. So, you know, I'll even, if I've already started a loop for that particular potential buyer, you know, I'll already drop that right into my dot loop, because that is going to be included as part of the offer that you're going to present to the seller. So the pre-approval letter is extremely a key piece of paper. But the golden ticket, and people have been very receptive, you know, they smile, they chuckle, you know, we call it a golden ticket, you know, and now we can go shopping, and we know exactly how much home you can't afford, and, you know, let's get it.
All right. Next step.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Yes.
What is the my thought is 6 months to a year, but what is a good time for people who say, you know, well, I'll be looking in 2 years or whatever? What is a good time frame that you want to say to them? Well, if you're looking in 2 years, you need to start the process when?
So that question, I wouldn't even answer that question that way, Rhonda. I think that's Rhonda.
Yes, it is.
Okay. I wouldn't even answer the question that way. What I would say is that, hey, in 2 years, we don't know what's going to happen. But what I can tell you right now is that we have the lowest interest rates in the country's history. If I were you, I don't know why you want to wait 2 years, but I would really start to see if I could be pre-approved today, so that I can take advantage of the interest rates, which means you're going to be able to buy more house with less money than you may be able to buy once interest rates start to rebound. 2 years down the road, you might be looking at a 12, 13% interest rate. I doubt if it ever gets that high again, but who knows? We never thought it would be this low. If you look at our buyer's consultation book, it doesn't even go as low as 4%, because that was unheard of. People are getting 2.5% interest rates right now. So I would always, so Rhonda, the idea is you want to be respectful. People say, hey, you know, I'm thinking maybe in the next 2 years. Why would you want to wait 2 years when we have the lowest interest rates in the history of our country right now?
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So you're selling, whenever you're working with buyers, you're always selling them on today. You can't promise them tomorrow, but today is where we are. So you want to bring them way from 2 years from now. You want to bring them to the now. Well, how about this? Even if you want to see, you know, 2 years from now, how about we still see where you are right now?
Right now.
So that we can know what we need to work on if we have to wait for 2 years.
And that's another kind of deflection in a way to Michael Cooper, because Michael Cooper is going to be able to look at your snapshot. He's going to know exactly where you are right now. And if we do have to wait, unfortunately, for another 6 months, another year, Michael's going to be able to sit there with you and tell you, well, you should pay this down. Don't worry about paying this down, pay this off, so that then when your credit goes up or you are ready, we're ready to rock and roll. You've already been in that Michael Cooper getting vetted. You know, you've been getting yourself together. You know, so I wouldn't, you know, if you can't do it right now, we can still, let's get you over to Michael Cooper to see exactly where you're at, so that we can make the repairs to your situation, to your credit, so that when you are going to be ready, we can rock and roll.
Right.
Okay.
And most people do need to do some type of credit repair or have to work on their credit. And what I often say, and I say it tongue in cheek, but I say, I can get away with some things. You might can get away with them too. But when people tell me, hey, I need to work on my credit, I say, please don't work on your credit if you're the person that broke it. We're going to get somebody to help you fix it. Let's let Michael Cooper.
Yeah.
Let's let Michael Cooper look at your situation so that he can see where you are. Because what a lot of people make the mistake of doing is trying to clean up their credit, and they clean it up so much it pushes them out of the capability of being able to buy. So we don't want you to clean it up to a point where your credit just is blank, or you just shut down some accounts, or you made the wrong moves. And Mike Cooper would have said, don't touch that account, it's going to fall off your credit next week. Or don't refute that specific item because it's about to fall off your credit. It's been on there for 6.5 years. You only got 3 more months. Don't touch it. Some people touch it, it starts the date over from today. So you please tell people, let's not touch anything. Let's see where you are. Let's let an expert look at your situation, and he'll tell us what we need to do to get you approved for a house, even if you want to wait 2 years from now. So you want to kind of leave that door open, but if they get that golden ticket, trust me, Rhonda, they ain't gonna be talking about 2 years.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right. Once you do get that, go ahead, Curtis.
No, another thing that I always like to tell folks is that, I'm going to be ready to help you buy your new home when you're ready too. So I don't, if you're starting to feel that, not necessarily a pushback, but that hesitation, and I can always chill everything out a little bit, like, hey, I'm here. I'm an agent. I'm in this for the long haul. I'm gonna help you when you're ready. But in the meantime, let's make sure you get ready if you can't do it right now. So that I'm ready when you're ready. Ain't no pressure, but when you're ready, let's go.
Right. Now, that being said, you do want to put the pressure on, but if they start to push back, as Curtis saying, then you might let a little bit of that tension out. Because again, guys, here's the thing: if you're going to be successful in this business, one, you can't be a secret agent, and you can't be shy, and you got to know, and you got to talk your talk, and you got to talk your stuff. You got to know what you're talking about when you talk your stuff, and people got to believe your stuff when you start talking it. And if you don't believe it, they're not going to believe it. So you have to be confident. And one of the ways to be confident is to go into that Broker Mint library and explore what's in there. There's a whole section in the Broker Mint library called Working with Buyers. One of the most important tools in the Working with Buyers tab to me is the buyer's consultation. The whole buyer's consultation I'm paying that 52-page. It's a 52-page document. If I were you, I would print it out front and back, staple it, and I will read through it profusely.
Yeah.
And I would pay particular attention to page 13. I would know exactly what I'm saying on page 13. I would want to say, Mr. Porter, what does that mean? Curtis, what does this mean? Call us, harass us, Jasmine, what does this mean on page 13? I don't understand how this works. That page, that one page, page 13, opens up a whole new world for buyers, even those people who have already owned homes. And you want to talk about establishing yourself as the professional. When you do the buyer's consultation and you do page 13 very well in that buyer's consultation guide, I don't care if they bought 5 houses, 6 houses, you're going to teach them something that they didn't know. Once you do that, you're the professional. They trust you.
Okay. Yeah, I can't stress the buyer consultation, the buyer consultation booklet enough. I mean, if you want to make money in real estate, you need to print out the buyer consultation. I'd even go further than just stapling it. I went to Staples. I got it nicely bound so I could just easily flip through it. And I literally it's still at my bedside table. And in the evening, I would just read through it and just look through it and just start to familiarize myself more and more. What also happens is you start to, especially as new agents, is you start to pick up lingo. You start to understand kind of the appraisal and pre-approval. I mean, you may know that now, but it's just that reinforcing, and you become more comfortable with the buyer consultation, because these things that are in it, you may not even be doing the actual consultation right then, but you're out talking to somebody, and you can now just start to draw on that knowledge, on that information that's in the buyer consultation. And then, like we're going to do next week, you take it out and now you make notes. So my buyer consultation booklet I've scribbled all over it, because every time Shay would be I'd be sitting there in a live consultation, and he'd be like, well, Curtis is a new agent, he's going to take some notes, and I just mark up key things that, like, he might say, and I'm like, the golden ticket, let me write that golden ticket down, and he used it here, and then I would just keep rereading it, going over it. But that buyer consultation, guys, is money. That's money.
So the buyer's consultation, and we can't harp this enough, and this is one of the key things. Once you get that person, you got that golden ticket, you want to hold on to that person. You don't want them to start going to look for new agents. You want to establish yourself as the professional. One of the wonderful things about a buyer consultation is, believe it or not, most of your colleagues at other real estate brokerages, they never do a buyer's consultation. When they get a pre-approval, the first thing some people just start taking people out before they get the pre-approval. They take them home shopping, and they driving all around Robbins Bond. They have no idea what the person will be pre-approved for. They have no idea what location. They haven't established any parameters. They don't know who's in charge. Are they in charge? Is the real estate agent, or is the buyer in charge? Because the buyers watch Home and Garden TV. Where you sit a person down with this buyer's consultation and you walk through it and you explain to them what they're looking at and what it's talking about and how this process is going to go and what the steps are, you're going to establish yourself as the professional. You're the person that they're going to trust. In terms of all of the expenses, we're probably the only company that puts up front what our expenses are, what our upfront expenses are. We tell them what they got to pay up front. Nobody else does that. They pretty much just take you out and show you around. I mean, it's kind of willy-nilly. And so we knew that when we were at another brokerage, that if we established a strong buyer's consultation, we put it in writing, and we sat down and we crafted that book. We pulled pages from all over the world to craft that book, and we made it our own. And we walked through that process over and over. We changed pages around so that we, had it in a way that it actually rolled out well. So that buyer's consultation guide has been well formatted, and we've taken it now, and you have a PowerPoint. And these are all tools that Porterhouse just hands to you, that if you were at any other brokerage, they would make you pay for them, or you had to create it yourself. And we don't want you to go through the rigmarole of creating something yourself or even having to pay for it. This is the tool that we give to you. They're very expensive buyer's consultation, listing consultations. You might be at a brokerage for years and not even know what one is, especially if you haven't had a client. But we're giving it to you, and we're going to teach you how to use it. It's very impactful. It's very important. So please take this very serious. If there's anything else we can't harp on it enough. This is I think Curtis tried one time to have a buyer without a buyer's consultation. Was that you, Curtis? Am I remembering correctly?
No, you know what? I mean, I've done. It wasn't me. I've always done a buyer consultation of some sort.
Okay, it was somebody. I don't know if it was you, but they called me back and said, "Man, my buyer's gone. The buyer's gone." So I said, "Did you do a consultation?" No,
I've always done.
So we're not saying this. This is something that's very important. It's an hour and a half. It seems like it's not worth it, but it's going to establish a lot of things. When you talk about your expenses, it's going to tell them not only that they're going to spend the money, but why it's important for them to give you the money. You want to collect that earnest money deposit, and you want to collect your brokerage fee up front. And if you roll it out appropriately, and we're going to teach you how to do that and how to say certain things, they're going to want to give you the money. Okay. You got to understand. Go ahead.
The thing too is that they will know when they're going to give you the money. Exactly. So that's one of the things when I'm working with a newer buyer that I haven't done the consultation yet, is letting them know, like, hey, I want to make, this is a big purchase. You're going to write some big checks. This is going to be one of the biggest, things you buy in your life. I want you to be 100% comfortable and confident in the process. So, at Porterhouse, we're very big on educating, and I want my buyer to know what's going to happen. So there's no hiccups. There's no, well, what do you mean I have to write a EMD check, or why I didn't know I had to pay for my home inspection, and well, what about the appraisal? I didn't know I had to pay for that. Like, we want to sit down with you, walk you through the entire process, so that then when we're out and we get under contract, all these things start rolling, and you're not going to be like, oh wait, Curtis told me I was going to have to get an appraisal. Like, that's right, I knew I was going to have to get that appraisal, and it will make the process. It's probably going to be a little stressful, regardless. But we want to, mitigate that stress and make it as smooth and as enjoyable of a process to get you your new home. So that's that buying consultation is part of establishing yourself. I am the agent. I am who's gonna help you buy your home, and this is how we're gonna buy it.
Right. And one of the things that's really important, again, I told you, working with buyers is a lot of psychology. You got to understand that everybody wants to be a homeowner, but they're all scared to spend that big money.
Mhm.
And you want to tell them, and this is
Exactly.
your opportunity to sit down with them and tell them, hey, you're about to spend some big money. You're
Mm.
not purchasing a car, you're buying something that you can park your car in. Okay. So this is an investment in your life. And so you start changing the terms from spending to investing. You show them how it's an investment. You show them what the benefits of a mortgage is versus renting. You go through a whole elaborate process of renting versus buying. And you tell them about how home ownership is and owning real estate in general is the first step to building wealth. And you go through this whole thing with them so that it cements in their mind, this, I'm investing in myself. I'm ready to cut these checks. I'm not going to be afraid of the process. I'm going to trust Mr. Porter, Mr. Price, Ms. Young, Ms. Ron. I'm going to trust them through this process because they know what they're talking about. I can hear it in their voice. I can see it in their presentation. They gave me this wonderful presentation, handed me this book. They put it in a folder. They gave me all these papers to sign. I handed them my checks. I'm ready to rock and roll. So that's what you want to do. That buyer's consultation is more than just talking. It's more than just finding out what the buyer's needs and wants are. It's an opportunity for you to establish your presence and establish what the protocol is going to be. We even have the 10-3-1. That's a formula that we work through, and it works sometimes and sometimes it don't. But the idea is to try to keep people focused. Okay, they're going to come up with 10 houses. I don't want to know what your 10 houses are. That's between you and your husband or whoever you're buying this house with. Or if it's by yourself, you argue with yourself about the 10 houses. I just need to know which 3 that you love out of the 10, and I want you to promise me that you're going to write an offer on one of them. That's the 10-3-1. So we talk about so many things, and I can't wait to get to the buyer's consultation next week. We're going to walk you through that thing, and we're going to give you some ideas. You guys be ready to take notes. Curtis is going to be right with me. We're going to hit it. We're going to tell you what works and tell you what not to say. There's some things you don't want to say, and we're going to tell you about some of the pushback you can get and how to answer those questions. Okay. The next thing is you establish in the buyer's consultation is a plan of action. This is what you want to do. You even have a section in there where where they tell you what day they want to settle, and that's the goal. That's the target. Now they have to follow your instructions and do everything you tell them to do when you tell them to do it. Time is of the essence. Sign documents, get them back to me. Stick to the plan. And then you sign that agency agreement at the end. You sign that agency agreement. They know that they're going to pay. They owe you 3% plus $7.95. Then after you do that, you can set up your search. And then that's when I normally set up my search, Curtis. And then I'm even bold enough to ask them, do you want to pay your brokerage fee right now? Most of the time they say no. Sometimes they say, yeah, I don't have no problem with it. But if they say no, when can I pay it? Well, when we get your house, when you turn in your earnest money deposit, you need to bring the $7.95 as well. So we establish all of that before we ever go look at a house.
Yep.
You sit in the hour and a half with somebody, you get them to sign some documents, they're with you. I heard a question. Somebody had a question?
Well, it's not a question, Ms. Porter. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hey, Kermon.
Okay. Yeah, just wanted to make a quick statement, and I will tell everybody, this is the most important thing that I've learned from Mr. and Mrs. Porter was doing the buyer's consultation. You need to hear Mr. Porter do it, of course, and I know he's going to go through that next week, but this was the answer to everything. And the reason why I say that is because even things that I had forgotten, I remembered because I went back through it. And the people that you do it in front of, they remember exactly what you've said. It educates people, but it also puts it back in their mind. So when the time comes that they have to pay these fees, because people, not only do they sometimes don't want to pay money, but they don't want to pay when they don't understand what they're paying for. And they haven't really come to grips with this is what's necessary. So the way Mr. Porter does the buyer's consultation, when they leave that room, they understand exactly not only why they're paying it, what they're getting, but they're happy to do it. And I've seen him do it where they're pulling the check out before he's even finished. They're pulling their checkbook out before he's even finished, because they understand the value of what they're getting. So I just think that it's very important, and it's the thing that really saved me on the last deal that I did, because the person had been to a real estate agent before, and I didn't know this, and they had not gotten any type of buyer's consultation. And Mr. Porter doing it for them educated them, and they told me later that was the deciding factor on why they went with Porterhouse.
And the great thing, and Cameron, I'm so glad you say that, guys. And again, you talk about establishing yourself as a professional. As I told you, most of your other real estate agents, they're not going to sit down and do a comprehensive buyer's consultation like what we do. I mean, they might have something, but I don't think it's going to be as comprehensive as what we do at Porterhouse. We think it's so important that we do it. And what happens, as Caramon stated, is when people are trying to decide, do they go with somebody who, their cousin? It could be, I've had people that have not gone with their cousin who's a real estate agent because they just felt as though we had more information.
Mr. Porter was her sister. It was the agent was their sister.
Okay, so that in Caramon's case, but I was even talking in my own personal experience, Caramon, and I remember your situation too. It was the person's sister that decided to come to Porterhouse instead of working with their sister because they just felt as though we had given them more information, we had shared more, and then what happens is they can go back to that person and start asking them questions, and they be like, "Let me check on that. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that." They don't know this information that you're going to know. Exactly. You're going to know this information. So your homework tonight, Curtis, I hope you're writing this down. Jasmine is witness, and this is being recorded, ladies and gentlemen. Your homework tonight is to go into your Broker Mint library, open up the Working with Buyers tab, and to find the Porterhouse International Buyers Guide. Download it, print it if you want to. I would advise you to print at least one copy for yourself, front and back, in color. And I want you to start marking it up. And one of the things I want you to go to is page 13 in particular. And you're going to see another page with a little seesaws on them. And it's talking about agency. Those two pages, I want you to really pay a lot of attention to those. But I want you to go through the whole guide. That guide talks about packing, moving, anything we can think of, we threw it in the book because we wanted it to be comprehensive. If they took that tool and carried it with them, if you printed it out for your clients and they carried it with them throughout the buying process, and they marked up that buyer's guide, they're going to have a tool that they can refer back to that's going to remind them of everything that happened in the buying process. Okay, nobody else is doing that I know of. Okay, so with that being said, anybody else have any questions about the buyer's consultation? We're going to go through it, but I do want you to download that buyer's guide, the Porterhouse Buyer's Guide. I want you to print it. I want you to be ready to talk about it, ask me questions, beat me up, whatever you want to do, shoot me down, because we're always learning here at Porterhouse, okay? And we want you to ask questions. We want you to make your mistakes here with us at training, so that when you get out in the field, when you get in front of your client, when you talk with intelligence, you know what you're talking about, and you can keep the ball rolling. Okay. Anybody have any questions before we move on? All right. Next. All right. So when you're doing the property search, you're going to get a lot of training about how to set up your property search in the MLS. One of the pages in the buyer's guide actually is a property search guide. And that was back, you guys see the logo over there, it says Porter Home Team. That was back when we had another real estate brokerage. Even as the team, we still had the buyer's guide. It was a very effective tool. It was one of the best tools that we had. But the home search is you finding out what the person is looking for. How many bedrooms, how many bathrooms? Do they want a swimming pool? Do they want to live in the suburbs? Do they want to live in the biggest house they can get for the least amount of money, no matter how far down they have to live. I remember Caramon went and showed property for a client of mine way down somewhere. Where did you take him, Curtis? Because I mean Caramon, because I didn't go. But Mr. Diggs, you remember him?
It was, I took them, I think that was all the way down there in Charles County, past Brandywine, near Hughesville.
Yeah, he took him somewhere. He was way down there in one of the
Yeah.
California, Maryland type things, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I thank you for doing that, by the way, Caramon.
No problem. No problem.
But this particular client, they didn't care. They didn't need to go into DC or into a job. They had a certain pre-approval amount. This was their first house. They wanted it to be their forever home, and they wanted to find it wherever it was, and it just happened to be way down there. So we found the house. We were able to get them ratified. It closed. It was a rather smooth transaction. But the property search, and you can encourage people. What I always say to do with the property search, one of the biggest things I tell anybody is to try to encourage them to see more houses or to be less restrictive in the beginning. In other words, encourage them to look, if they're willing to, look in Charles County, encourage them to look in Charles County. If they, if they, they got a certain amount, but they want a single family, but they could do with a townhouse, encourage them, say, hey, well, I can just put townhomes and single family homes on it. If you don't like them, you can put them in the garbage can. You see that little garbage can? You put them in the garbage can. If you do like them, we can go check them out. So encourage them to be liberal rather than restrictive, because what's going to happen if they say, I only want to see houses with basements. Well, some of the real estate agents in our industry, believe it or not, they don't list the house property. They don't put that the property does have a basement, or they don't count it as a basement when it actually is, because there could be a basement that's still partially above ground. So they might not call it a basement. They might, call it something else. And if you check that mark that says basements only, now they're going to miss out on the house that could be the house of their dreams.
I always will tell folks that I like to cast a big net. So like if we're going fishing, I'm going to cast a really big net for you. This way, we're going to pull and see really everything that's going to be within that price range that you're approved for. The other thing I'll let folks know is that the actual search engine, just like you were saying, Shay, is it can be very fickle. So if you do click basement, you're going to miss out on a ton of other homes that could be the home, but because you selected basement, or because you selected 3 bedrooms when there was a home that was actually 2+ that you could have put in instead of 3, but you missed it because the way it was entered into the matrix. So I always will tell, my buyers, like, let's throw a big net. It's going to be within your price range, within the areas you're looking, but I don't want to just limit you to certain particular things if you might miss out on a home that might have that. It just wasn't entered in to the search engine and we miss it.
That's excellent, Curtis. Go ahead. Who's that?
This is Rhonda.
Okay.
I am actually a testimony with my very first client that I'm working with now. I'm a testament of that. My client only wanted a colonial home. She really didn't want a split foyer. She doesn't like them for some reason. Her attitude was, I don't want to walk into a house and steps are right there. I want to be able to kind of move around and kind of walk up to the steps. Mm-hmm. And it was other little things she didn't like. And when I was putting in searches for her being very specific, I mean, we may have run across like 5 houses here, 5 houses there. And then, of course, I established the emails. And when I encouraged her to change her mindset about it, more specifically to what Curtis was saying, sometimes things are not listed properly. It's so funny. Although she still ended up putting an offer on a colonial home. What was so funny about this whole process, most of the homes that she liked ended up being split foyer homes.
Well,
Right.
Rhonda, that's a funny story because I used to tell people a story about the client that I had. They didn't want a bank-owned property, and they didn't want to move in Clinton. And guess what they ended up buying? A bank-owned property in Clinton.
So you
That,
definitely have to encourage them
that
to broaden their mindset and to think outside the box, because what they want, like you said, they could be definitely missing out. And she saw so many properties that she wouldn't initially had looked at had I not
mhm,
made her
that's right.
really think about it.
Absolutely. And the other thing I wanted to also point out, guys, is when we're doing the buyer's consultation, you're setting up that search. You want to encourage your buyers to not lollygag and looking at the search when it comes over to them. I want you to say this and remember this: time is of the essence, right? Time is money. Time is of the essence. All those things are really important. You don't want your clients to lollygag and miss out because homes are not lasting on the market very long. 2 weeks, 2 weeks or 2 hours. You might not see the same house. So what I tell them is that when I set up this search for you, I need you to go home and immediately start finding homes that we can go see this week. So I want you to narrow the search. We talk about the 10-3-1 formula. I want you to narrow it down to 3 homes that we can go see this week from the search that I'm going to send to you right away. Now, what does that do? Well, that gets them out in the market. That's the first thing. You want to get them out because you don't want your buyer to go cold. You got the pre-approval, you did the buyer's consultation, they haven't been out to see anything, now you can't find them. You want to get them out looking, okay? Take them shopping, okay? Once you get them shopping, you get your feet wet. Now, they might write an offer on, in the first week. Most of the time, it probably won't happen, but you want to stay to the formula. Okay, so you say, hey, we saw 3. I know you guys, none of the 3 that we saw today work. Why don't you go back, look for another 3, and let's go find them. If you only see 1, we can still take you. But you want to try to maximize your outing. So I try to take them to at least see 3, no more than 4 properties in one showing. Unless they're an investor. And that's a whole other thing. We're not going to go into that right now. But 3, no more than 4 showings, because what you don't want to do, you don't want to waste your time. You don't want to create a shopper. You want a buyer. So if the person gets used to just shopping all the time, they might not end up buying, and then you're wasting your time. So you really want to push them to write an offer on the best property they saw. And here's how you sell it to them. You tell them the first search that I'm sending you is called the big ball of wax. That's what I call it. You can call it that too. It's the big ball of wax. And here's why. You're going to see all of the properties that fit your criteria that nobody else has bought. And you are getting the first right of refusal to all of those properties. So really look through this first search really well, because what's going to happen after you've been through that big ball of wax? Now you're only waiting on a drip. Every now and then somebody might put a house on the market that fits the criteria that you're looking for. And you might not see another house for a week or 2 because that big ball of wax now is dried up because it's only drips now. So after that first initial search, they're only going to get a drip every now and then. And what can happen? Your client can lose interest in buying process because they didn't take advantage, or the next house that's on that drip might not look as good as the house that they should have wrote an offer on, and now they're blaming you. You should have let me write that offer. You should have pushed me to write that offer. So push your clients to write offers and you'll hear me do it in the buyer's consultation, and it's a way to do it. So it's not a pressure sale, but it's a way to encourage them to make a decision quickly rather than waiting for that campaign drip to start, and then they're looking for a house for a very, very long time. And that can become very, very problematic. And you don't want that. You want somebody with a golden ticket to buy, and you want to close them within 45 days. I want to get them to the table in the next 45 days.
That's the other nice thing too, is like with all of this, with the buyer consultation, with, letting the buyer know the market is hot, letting them know like, hey, I personally have listed a property under contract within 3 days. You have to move fast. Money is attracted to speed. We have to be aggressive. You see it, you get the warm and fuzzies inside. We need to write an offer on it. What will also happen is you write the offer, you might not get it. But what it will do is it will also set the stage too, where, what, Curtis knows what he's talking about. We've submitted the offer. There were 5 other offers. There were 10 other offers. So that now when we go out again, they know. Like, we got to be on. If we see it and we wait, the property's gone. So I've had folks, they like the house, they're on the fence, they're sitting on it. They're like, can we go see it again? And I'm already like, you know, I pull it up, it's gone. And then me letting them know it's already under contract. Wow, it's already under contract? I told you, the market's hot. But you see it, we got to move, we got to go. So that it also sets the stage, sets you up, makes you look as the professional, you know what you're doing. And then the next home, they want to write that off, they're going to write that off. Go ahead and write the offer. Let me get that EMD to you.
All right, guys.
Can I add one thing to that? My client, and when you see a home, you encourage them to write it as fast as they can, because my client was chosen because she was the very first person. Her agent literally told me they liked my client because she had a strong offer, which Jasmine and I encouraged her, but she was the first offer.
Right.
Speed.
So we're going to talk about all of these, a lot of these factors. There's some strategies in there in terms of writing winning offers. We're going to talk about that next week as well. So I want to make sure that we get through this, and that's great information. Guys, when it comes to scheduling your tours, here's a couple of strategies I can tell you real quick. First of all, once they send you those 3 homes, you want to try to schedule them as soon as possible. You want to, like Curtis said, speed. You want to be the first person to get to each showing. If you've never shown the house, I can give you some strategies that work for me. I try to schedule the house that's furthest away first, and then I schedule the one that's coming back towards where I am, or coming back towards the office or to your home. You know, you want to schedule far out and then work your way back towards, you know, your home or your client's home. So that's one of the strategies. You don't want to be circling all over the country, passing the same house 3 times. Then we just, we're going back the other way. You want to kind of have some organization to it. You want to make sure that you review the information on each home so that you have an idea of what the house has. You want to kind of get to the house before your clients. I don't like having my clients follow me in their car. I tell them, hey, I'm going to send you the address. You know, I'll meet you at the next house. And what I try to do, I try to get there a little bit before them so I can make sure the lock box is working, make sure the key is in there, make sure I turn the lights on. If there's, you know, if it's funky, I might have a little spray with me. You know, you want to try to do everything you can so that this house is pleasing to your clients when they get there. And there's some houses you're going to get to, and you might say, you know what, I don't even think y'all want to go in there. So you want to.
I had one. I was like, "You can go in there. I'm gonna wait for you right out here."
Yeah.
You don't want to do that either. But they're joking, Curtis. You can't joke. They might take you seriously. Don't you?
Nah.
So you have to go in the house with your clients, guys. It's a liability issue, and we're responsible for that property when we're there. And also, guys, never, ever, ever. I don't care if there's another agent coming after you and you just want to be respectful. There's no such thing. Put that key back in the lockbox, scramble that lock them doors, turn off them lights, and let that person access the lockbox. Okay?
Amen.
You don't know who that person is. You don't know what
Yes.
lock that key. Say, hey, how you doing? I'm coming right out. Let me put the key back in the box. I'm gonna lock up, and then it's all yours. Do not hand that key off to another agent, and you'll have agents that even ask you for it, and sometimes they're not agents. You don't know. You don't want to take the risk. Put the key back in the box, scramble the lock box. The same way you found that house is the same way you leave it. And that's all I want to say about that. But always schedule your tours. Don't rely if you have a Century key, you know, that don't mean you just walk up in somebody's house. You schedule that tour. If you have the house under contract and it's time to go back in inspection and you remember the combination, don't go back to that house without scheduling the tour. If it's time for a final walkthrough and your client's about to get the house tomorrow, schedule a tour. Always schedule your tours. They will buzz you. They will get you. They will jack you up. They will give you a fine, and the fines are expensive. They're very expensive. Schedule a tour. Okay. Never ever give a person a combination or access to a house ever. You have to be there, you have to schedule your tour, and you have to be there with your client. Any other questions? Anything else? We can go to the
Actually,
next.
real
ahead.
quick on the showing tours, one thing that I like to do is I'll pull up in HomeSnap each actual house. So I'll look at, 123 Main Street. I'll look at 321 Bourbon Street. I'll pull up each of these 3 houses that we're going to look at before I even get in the car, kind of get my day together. So what I can do is I can go back into HomeSnap, and then you can pull up like your most, I think it's your most recently viewed. And so this way I can just pull up that most recently viewed, and all 3 of those homes are going to be 1, 2, 3 right there. So now we pull up to the house, I get it open, I'm inside. I just open up HomeSnap. I open up that recently viewed. I open up that property that I'm in, and now I'm good to go. Client comes in. Hey, does this have, let me check. You open up the phone. It's right there. I go right in, open up HomeSnap. You know what? It does have this. It doesn't have that. It's not in here, but I could reach out to the agent and get that information for you. So that's a real, something I like to use is HomeSnap. Lay out your homes you're going to look at. And then this way you can have all that information at the ready. So when you're from house to house.
And Curtis, just as a backup, you might get down in Aquaso, Maryland, and then there's no cell. Snapshot. Make sure when you open up the HomeSnap, make sure you do a screenshot of that information. If you suspect that you might be in a dead cell area, you might want to print it out, but screenshot it so that you can have it on your photos, and you can be able to answer that information. We already talked about what to do in the property tours, but one of the other things I wanted to make sure is that we highlight the features and benefits of a house. There are going to be things that are wrong with a house. The client is going to notice them. You don't have to state the obvious. It's kind of like that commercial, the Geico commercial, whatever commercial, that insurance commercial. You don't have to state the obvious. You don't have to, talk on your phone.
We know the hair is blue.
We know the hair is blue. You don't need to say what
blue.
you want to focus on. Hey, it's 5-bedroom, huge backyard. You want to look at the covert ceilings. You want to focus on this is a beautiful. The structure is really well, strong bones, brick house. You want to say all the stuff that is good. They're going to notice all the stuff that ain't good. Okay, you don't have to say that kind of stuff. Focus on the features and benefits of owning that home, because you're trying to sell them a house and you want them to see what they see, but you also want to refocus them because it is a resale on the features and the benefits of the house. And the wonderful thing I want to say to you is take notes on whatever they do agree with you on, okay? Because you're going to use that, because you'll get a person that might write an offer and then they start getting cold feet. You can remind them of all of the promises they made and all of the wonderful things that they said and encourage them. Let's just move through this process. This might be your home. This might, and everybody wants their forever home first, but the first home is probably going to be just your first home. It's not going to be your forever home. And you want to say that, and we say that in the buyer's consultation in a very nice way. So your first home doesn't necessarily have to be your forever home. You're not going to move in your house and live there for 30 years. You're going to be probably calling me back in about 6 or 7 years. So you're already putting them in a frame of mind. Let's just get your feet in the real estate door. Okay. You overcoming their fears.
One thing I will say with the property tours, especially as being a newer agent, is I love HGTV. I love design. I love architecture. And so when I first started going out and showing folks homes, I literally had to start to shut up, because this ain't my home. Like I'm not designing it. What I might say, or I like this feature, or I like, maybe you could do this, or what about, I had to literally like zip it, let them walk through. Like Shay's saying, you can point out certain things and touch on, but when it comes to, remodeling or let them say that, let them talk about doing that. And you just nod, like you could, let's write the offer. Is this home really that appealing to you? Hey, let's write the offer on it. But don't you start, we can maybe put hardwood in here. You could do this. Just the carpet looks great. Yeah, it does. Yeah. Let's write the offer.
And be careful. Be listen to us very carefully. Listen. what your standards are may not be the
Mhm.
same thing as what somebody else's standards are. You might walk in the house and be like, I don't think you want to go in there. And they'll walk in and be like, I love it. This is it. This is
Right.
my house. And you're like, let's write it up.
Let's really, hey,
If you like it, I love it. Well, and
amen.
conversely, you don't want to be, you don't want to be crazy either. So you don't want to go in there and walk and you see 12 feet of standing water in the basement talking about, well, it comes with an indoor pool. No, you don't, come on, we're not talking. But you want to find a way to be positive. If it's water in the basement, for me, I'm ready to walk out. I don't
Yeah,
want my clients buying a
that's
house with water in the basement. Although Curtis knows a great company that can fix basement problems. Anyway, that being said,
absolutely.
your tour is important. It's a first look at the home. You want to make sure that you focus on the features. You want to take notes and you want to get feedback from the client. And what we used to do is, I say, on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, 1 being the lowest, how would you rate this home? If they give it a 5, let's write an offer. I don't even want to go see the other 2 homes.
Yeah.
Other 2 homes might make them confused. Most of the time, they're going to want to go see the other 2 homes. So you take them to see the other 2 homes to say, is this a 5? Is this a 5? I'm going to push them on that 5. Because now what they're starting to worry, the fear of missing out is starting to creep into their mind. And as I said, this is psychology. What they're starting to think is maybe I should wait a little longer. Something better might be out there than that house that was 5. No, it's nothing out there better. You need to write an offer on that house. Okay. All right. When you follow up with your buyers, when you're out shopping, if you didn't get a house the first time, you want to call them 3 times a week as an active buyer. You want to make sure that you're doing it, put them on your schedule. You have work to do, follow with them 3 times a week. You want to be scrubbing the search. If they're not looking at the search, you want to be looking at the search that they're supposed to be looking at. Don't assume that they're doing the homework that they're supposed to do. Make sure that you are doing homework with them. Sending them homes, texting them. What about this house? This house seems perfect for you. You want to push them, okay? Once the house is under contract, once you write a ratified contract, you want to talk to your buyer every day. You are their best friend for the next 30 days. You don't want them to move, change locations, get a divorce. You don't want nothing to happen for 30 days. You want them to sign documents. You want them to go to meet Mike Cooper. You want them to be for the appraisal, the inspection. The next 30 days are crucial. Okay, you are their best friend all the way up until settlement. And then even after settlement, you can be their best friend too. You can go to the next slide, Jasmine. All right. When you're ready to prepare offer, the first thing that you always do is complete a CMA. Don't call me talking about what do you think I should make an offer on this house for? That's not the way we do it. We use scientific data. The scientific data is your comparative market analysis. You can do it either on the MLS, which I call a long way, or you can do it on HomeSnap, which is a quick way. The CMA is crucial. It compares the houses that are like that house to houses that have sold. It tells you what this house should be selling for, and it gives you an idea of whether or not the listing agent has priced the house appropriately. If they have, you might want to make an aggressive offer on that house. Okay, if you think that a house might appraise for more, you might want to be even more aggressive because we want to get our contracts ratified. Once you do the CMA, then that's what helps you establish your offer strategy. You discuss the purchase price with the buyers. You read through the remarks on the MLS and find out what the listing agent is offering. It might be a $4,000 stipend in there for you to do some certain repairs on the house. So you say, hey, remember we was talking about the repairs? They're already giving you $4,000 to fix X, Y, Z. All right. You want to call the listing agent and talk to them, establish a rapport. You want to advise them that the offer is coming. We used to take people out for coffee or meet them for lunch just to get an offer in because, they're getting a ton of offers. What's going to make your offer stick out? Anything that extra that you do. Your personality, your charm, your wit, make them smile. That needs to be your second best friend because you're trying to get your offer accepted on behalf of your buyer. You want to put on your best face for your buyer. You're not representing you. So if you got a funky attitude, get rid of it and put on a great attitude when you call that listing agent, advise them of the offer and establish a rapport. Talk to them, find out who they are, how long they've been in the real estate. You know how this is, you want to talk to them. Okay. They want to like, trust, and believe you. If they like, trust, and believe you, they might help you get the offer. That house that Caramon went way down there to see, I had spoken to that agent on the previous offer. We didn't get the house, but I stayed in touch with her because I knew she had houses on the market listed that I might be interested in. So I kept calling her and harassing her and say, hey, how did that house go? Did they sell it? I'm telling you, I'm gonna get one. You're gonna do an offer with me. You're gonna do a deal with me. And as soon as that house came up, she had multiple offers. She called me first. She said, Porter, I'm gonna go ahead and encourage my agent, my seller to work with your buyer. Thank you. I like your offer. It's strong. It's about equally as strong as somebody else, but since I have a rapport with you, that's what she said. I'm going to work with you. And she's even thinking about coming to Porterhouse with her team. Great. So those are the things that you want to make sure you do. Okay. You want to obtain the property and seller disclosures. They should be online. 9 times out of 10 nowadays they are. We used to have to call and request them or email and request them. But still, if they're online, search for them. Get the disclosures. Your client has to have the disclosures when writing an offer. If you don't see the disclosures, email and request them. Call and request them. It gives you another reason to call and talk to the listing agent. All right. Once you complete the offer, or the residential contract of sale and all relevant addenda, you want to add them to dotloop. You want to do it in dotloop, and then you want to choose the buying template, add your pre-approval document. You need a copy of a check. So what you want to tell your client to do, and we have a text message that you send out. It says, please write a check in the amount of, and it's normally 1% or up to 2% of the purchase value. In the amount of made payable to Porterhouse with the subject line EMD dated today. Take a picture showing all 4 corners and send it to me. Now, that's all in the text message that you'll send over to your client. And they'll do exactly what you told them to. Sometimes nowadays, people don't even have checkbooks, so they got to go to the bank. But at least they have the instructions on what you need in order to write the offer. You need a copy of a picture of a check. You don't need the actual check yet. You just need a picture of the check so that you can submit the offer. They will turn the check in if the offer is ratified and accepted by the seller. Okay. You want to make sure you add all the property disclosures, and you want to even add a buyer's letter to the seller. So we have a template, but you can say, hey, you guys might want to write a little letter to the seller to kind of help your offer stick out a little more. We loved your home in particular. We love the way you decorated, but we can see our children growing up in that beautiful backyard. And I can tell that your children must have had a great upbringing. All of these wonderful things that you can put in this letter. And the seller might say, I look at all the offers, but nobody wrote a letter, but these people did. I want to sell my house to those people.
I did have that letter in the $1 million offer that property. I slid that in.
That's awesome.
and Mr.
We
Porter,
put everything in this.
Yes. Go ahead, guys. Your phone is breaking up, Caramon. We can't hear you.
The lady selling the house and she wrote a letter, and the letter touched the seller's heart. And I think it really, really helped because they got a lot of offers, and she chose that off. She chose our offer over some others. I think because of the letter.
Absolutely. And so anything that you can do that adds a touch, a special touch that makes your offer stand out. It doesn't always work, guys. But, I tell you what, I remember the one time where I forgot to put a letter, or I thought I didn't have enough time for my buyer to write a letter to the seller. And so I submitted the offer, and the listing agent called me back and he said, man, I tell you what, your offer was just as good as the other agents, but you know what they did? They wrote a nice little letter. And boy, you talking about kicking yourself. I said, that's my steal.
Right.
I'm sure they probably competed against us and lost an offer. And they said, we're going to do that next time. And now they got it. And I was so upset. I kicked myself so hard. I couldn't go back to my buyer and tell him, I forgot to have you write a letter. I just said, well, they accepted another offer that was better than ours. Let's keep looking. And that's a hard thing too. But again, that's psychology. You got to be ready to deliver that bad news. How do you move on? We'll talk about that next week. Next slide, please. All right. Negotiating an offer is when once you get it ratified. You don't want to really negotiate when you're submitting the offer. Okay, people get that wrong. Their clients are telling them, "No, I ain't doing this," and if they want me to submit, no, honey, they don't have to do anything for you. You trying to get your foot in the door. So you have to make sure that your clients understand where they are in the process. Submitting an offer is not the time to negotiate. The time to negotiate is once the seller accepts your offer. And once they accept your offer, you can say, well, I see what you want to do, but my client likes this. Now they're talking to you. You have a little bit of leeway, but be careful, buyers. Don't exempt yourself. Don't get your buyer kicked out of the process. So be careful with what you are really asking. Make sure it's something that's a have to have as opposed to a like to have, because some of the like to haves will come out as the process goes on, and I'll talk to you all about that later. But the negotiating time is once your offer is accepted by the seller, not before, not when you're writing the offer. You're negotiating the offer once it is accepted. Next slide. All right. Once you get that, you got a fully ratified contract. That means you all have agreed to everything. That means all signatures are in place. If you leave one signature off, or you count on something, say you're in the negotiating process, and the seller hasn't signed off on that last initial, and then all of a sudden you get a call from the listing agent saying they went with another buyer. Wait a minute, we had everything signed. Well, we didn't sign that last thing that you sent back over. You don't have a ratified contract. You want to not over negotiate and get your buyer's offer kicked out. You want to just make sure that your buyer is comfortable. It's a give and take. Ratified means that we have made an agreement. We're shaking hands. This is what it's going to be. And if your buyer is overbearing, they're not going to make it to this point. And this is a great point, because this is at the point where your commission is truly earned. According to your contract at ratified, this is when your commission is earned. Okay, so this is what cements the deal. You want every signature, every I dotted, every T crossed. If there's things that you might have made a mistake on, get it ratified first, and then you say, hey, I noticed the language, or we missed a little thing here and there. Let's correct that and send it back. But that's already done. It's ratified. The contract is sealed. You can go back in and make little edits. And then you want to take that ratified contract and you want to do something with it. Next slide. You want to start coordinating your transaction. Now you have a transaction, guys. Now you have a ratified contract. You have a transaction. That ratified contract needs to go over to the title company. We use Velocity Title. They're an excellent title company. If you have somebody else who you've been using in the past, fine. As long as you trust them, go for it. But we like Velocity because they fight for our clients the way they're supposed to. They don't give the seller too much information and the buyer too much. They do exactly how they're supposed to do with the buyer. We know that some title companies are biased and they're not handling the transaction the way they want. So that's all I'm gonna say about that.
You know,
go ahead.
Real quick, Shay. Actually, I would have closed tonight if
you'd went with Velocity.
If we went with Velocity, because Velocity would have stayed open until 6, 7, 8 p.m. But because of the title company that we had to use with this particular seller, they closed it. Like, they couldn't do it at 5. Like, right. So, and now we got tomorrow. It's Velocity.
Yeah. So Curtis, like Curtis, in some situations, guys, they might offer your buyer an incentive to stick with the title company who's already done some work. It might make the transaction quicker, all kind of things. So you might not be able to go with Velocity every time. As Curtis knows to close the deal. So that's the way you become top agent over a few years. You close deals, okay? So whatever you got to do, you do it, but you want to make sure you look out for your client's best interest. And in my opinion, working with Velocity and people that we know and trust is in the client's best interest, because it makes the transaction go a lot smoother. You want to send that ratified contract back over to Mr. Cooper or to whatever lender that client is pre-approved with, because that lender is the person that ultimately has to get that approval done. And now the ball is in their hand. It goes from a pre-approval stage to now them actually being approved. So some people think because they have a pre-approval, some of your buyers are going to believe that because they had a pre-approval, that means that they're going to get the house. No, now you have to get approved. So in the buyer's consultation, they talk about the 10 commandments. The 10 commandments are the things that you cannot do once you start looking for a house. And you want to make sure you go through that with them, because if not, invariably your buyers are going to do one of those things. And if they do it, they're not going to get a house unless they're working with Mr. Cooper, because he'll figure it out. It might take longer, but the point is we want to close that house. I want to get my check in 45 days of buyer's consultation. I want to get 15 days looking, 30 days to close the house. All right. You want to contact the listing agent and the seller. You want the process goes from the listing agent and seller to the seller agent and the buyer. Then you want to set up your inspection. Okay. You want to do your inspection within 48 hours of the ratification, because normally you've only given yourself 7 days to find stuff wrong in the inspection phase, to write it up and to report it to the seller. So that has to happen rather quickly. Your focus after ratification is getting the inspection done. Sending the documents over is easy. That's an email. You send it over to Mr. Cooper and Velocity, say we have a ratified contract. Please note that only 2.5% is being provided by the seller. The buyer will have to pay the other 0.5% plus $7.95 if they don't pay you the $7.95 when you get the EMD check, but they should. So it's all kind of jargon. We'll talk about that next week. Your goal after ratification is really to get the inspection done. That's the biggest thing that you have to do. You have to schedule the inspector, Mr. Winbush. That's the gentleman. If you guys saw WhatsApp, he just came and joined Porterhouse. We're so happy to have him. He has tons of experience. He knows everything about a house that you could ever want to know. But you want to get that inspection done. You call Mr. Winbush, schedule your inspection, let him do the inspection. He'll get a report back to you, sometimes the same day. Sometimes within a few hours. Sometimes within a few hours. He's really that good. And it'll be comprehensive. It's a 40, 50-page report. It has a summary on it that tells you everything that he's recommending that you ask for as in terms of a repair. Anything that you see with a circle, a red circle or arrow, that's something that you want to focus on that needs to be repaired. You prepare a property inspection notice addendum. You send that over to the seller along with a copy of the inspection, and you ask for repairs, even if the house is as is. Even if the house is as is, even if they say it's as is and we're not fixing anything, your job is to represent your buyer and do what's in their best interest. So you do still fill it out, still send it over. In fact, the last client I just had last week, we filled it out. The property was as is. Not only was there 17 items on the inspection report that needed to be fixed, my clients added 8 more. This was an as-is property. The buyer said they were going to fix everything on the list except the washing machine, because the washing machine was new and they didn't know why the washing machine would be on the inspection report. But because they didn't want the client to have to wait, they would give them a $400 credit for the inconvenience. And that was on the as-is property. But what if I wouldn't have asked for it?
Wow.
Exactly. And anybody that knows anything about it is wild, because guess what? They don't have to repair anything in the inspection phase. The inspection phase is an opportunity for you to ask for the repairs. Your seller, your buyer, they can say, we're not fixing anything. And then your buyer can say, okay, we don't want the house. Or they can say, we're fixing everything. Your buyer still can say, we don't want the house. But that's a contingency, the first contingency where your buyer, if you didn't feel something good about this deal after getting in it, that's the first way to get them out legally without risking anything, the earnest money deposit, anything. All right. After that, later on down the line, the appraisal is going to come. There's nothing you need to do with the appraisal. The lender orders the appraisal automatically. Okay. There's nothing you need to do except receive the appraisal. We're going to talk about that, I think, on the next slide. Oh, that's the inspection. Okay, the inspection, we talked about that enough. Let's go to the next slide, guys. I'm trying to get through this. This is what the appraisal will look like. It's one of the pages on the appraisal. The page on your right-hand side is the one where you'll see 235,000. That's the appraised value. It's way down at the bottom. in those little lines. You got to search for it sometimes, but once you get used to it, you'll know where to look for the appraised value, okay? That's going to determine whether or not you all did a good deal. So if the appraised value is more than what the house worth, you did an excellent job for your buyer. If it's less, that means you get to send something over to the seller saying, hey, what kind of stuff are you trying to pull? This house isn't worth that much money. You got to lower the price. All right. If it appraises for 235 and you wrote it for 235, you still did a great job. Appraisal is the best money that your buyer ever spend because it's going to determine the value of the property and whether or not they're moving in with a lot of equity, a little bit of equity, or we're going to lower the price of the property. So the appraisal is good for the buyer. Next slide. All right. You want to make sure that you order a warranty for your clients, especially on a resale, because you never know what's going to go wrong. Plumbing, electrical, appliances, etc. We use HWA. We're going to help you guys all set up your HWA account so that you can go ahead at any time you want and order your warranty for your buyers. It's also great because you can order a warranty if you're on the listing side while you're selling a house for free. So that the listing side warranty is free. The buyer side warranty you'll have to pay for as settlement. And that's one of the things that you'll negotiate in the contract. And we'll talk about where you do that and how to do that later. All right, next slide. All right, final walkthrough. That means you're getting to the end. This is a day or two, or maybe. And what I like to do my final walkthrough as close to settlement as possible, because what you want to make sure is that any repairs that they said that they were going to do, if you don't do a reinspection, which reinspection does cost money, but and we can encourage your clients, especially if it's a lot of things, you want to encourage them to do the reinspection. If it's not a lot of things that are major, then you can walk through and just look for those items. And if they're not done, you check them off on this final walkthrough addendum, and you bring that and send that over to the agent prior to settlement. So you want to do it as close to settlement as possible, but not so close that you're not able to then send this document over to say, hey, there's some things that are not the way they're supposed to be. Other thing you want to make sure is that whatever was in the house when you ratified it is the same things that's still in the house. We actually walked in on a person a long time ago when they were actually taking the nice refrigerator out of the house the day before settlement, trying to put an old one in there. And we stopped them right there at the door, said, what are you doing? Oh, we were just moving. They didn't have any kind of excuse. We had to put that refrigerator back where it belongs. And they were really trying to try it. Listen, we're in the real estate business. Don't be, we talk very positive, but don't think there are not some nefarious people out here that try anything to save a buck. And everybody that you're working with in real estate is not a real estate agent. Okay, so people that try anything. They're people. You can't knock them. They're going to get away with whatever they can get away with. But your job is to be proactive and to follow through the steps. All of these documents and the strategies that we're giving you are put in place for a reason so that you can protect the best interests of your clients through the buying process. Okay. I think that's it. You go to settlement, get the keys, you bring a gift, you collect your check, you collect the altar. Make sure you collect the altar. The altar is the final statement. It used to be called the HUD one. It's like a receipt. It shows every penny that the buyer seller spent, gave, or received in the entire transaction, all the way down to the nickel, dime, and penny. This is going to be one of the happiest days of people's lives. They're going to be excited. This is when you want to give a gift and you want to ask for referrals. You want to ask them to give you a 5-star rating on Google if you got your account set up. You want to make sure that you stay in touch with that person so that they can give you a favorable review, say something nice about you, or send you a new client. This is how you build your referral-based business. Most of the time it happens with buyers. Sometimes it happens with sellers, but I believe most of our referral-based business come from us working with buyers, okay? Follow-up. 1 week after settlement, you want to call them, check on everything. You don't want to make them feel like you disappeared. Say, how you doing, new homeowner? You want to just be very positive. Oh, man, this house, I just love it. Or, man, this house, I hate it. Oh, man, well, you was very excited. What can I do to make sure, sometimes the warranty didn't go right. They didn't, this didn't happen. That she just wanted to say, hey, let me give some calls to some people. I'll get right back with you. And you want to make sure you try to solve the problems. Because it's not over once you cash your check. You want to look. That's being short-sighted. being long-sighted, making sure you're building your business means you're going to stay with that person. You're going to make sure that you do everything you can, even after the settlement, to make sure that that house is up and working order and they're happy with it, and anything that you can do to make their life better. You want to even 1 month after settlement, check in with them again. You want to ask them about housewarming, and that's a way to really get clients, get new clients, is to throw the housewarming for them. Okay, all you need is a list of the people they want to come. Well, you can't really do it now, but you can do a virtual one, I guess. And we used to invite people for and say, on behalf of their real estate agent, we want to invite you to the housewarming of. Now, what real estate agent in the world does that? Porterhouse, that's who. And then you get tons of clients, and then you get to tell the story. Let me tell you the story about this house. Let me tell you what their fears were. You know, if you can get away with it, if they're people that's real, you know, they're private, they don't want people knowing their business, you might be careful what you say. But I like to joke with them and play with it, you know, and say, and I'm just so proud to be the person that they allow for me to work with. And if any of you ever need any help or support, I'm going to pass out my business cards. And if you have any questions, I'm going to be hanging around. I'm just so happy to do this for these people. And it's a wonderful opportunity for you. All right. 1 year after settlement, you want to call back, follow up with them, say, hey, it's time for you to renew your home warranty. How, you know, have you used it this year? They might say, you know, we forgot to use it. Well, I want you to renew it because, you know, things could go wrong. So I'm going to set it up again. You just have to pay it online, blah, blah, blah. You know, if you send me some referrals, I can give you, you know, I might give you a $50 gift certificate towards a home warranty or something like that. And you can still ask for referrals at any point within. Build your business, ladies and gentlemen. Don't just do a transaction. Exploit the transaction. When you're out showing the home, look around, see who's watching. Ask them about the neighborhood, and then ask them if they're ready to sell the house. Isn't that right, Curtis?
Yeah, that was getting ready to chime in. That was one of the first showings that I did. Was with Shay, and you know, we were out, and sure enough, you know, there's a guy checking us out because we're, you know, clearly we're going in and out the house, and lo and behold, you know, went over, started talking to him. He was, you know, he was interested or thinking about selling, and I didn't even have cards yet. so Shay, you know, Shay gave me his, you know, gave him a card, got his information, and but it was just interesting to be out, and then people are looking at you. You know, you may not realize it, but as soon as I see any eye contact, now I'm different. Now I'm actively looking. I had a client that I met showing a property to somebody. I was closing up. They came out afterwards. Hey, are you an agent? Yes, I am. Got his information. 2 years later, I helped him buy his new home and sell that home that I showed right next door. I helped him sell his property. I was on point, you know, just look, let me get your information. Let me get your phone number. You know, let me get your email from you. I can follow up with you, see how things are going. And I just kept touching them over the course of 2 years. You know, and then sure enough, when it was time for him to buy and sell, he was like, hey, man, I'm ready. I need to do something. Took care of him.
So, guys, needless to say, Curtis, thank you for that. Needless to say, when you go out, put your name badge on. Keep your always keep a pocket full of business cards. Now, I'm going to tell y'all something about your broker that she don't know. I don't know if she's still on this. She used to wear her name badge every day, all day, everywhere, even to church. And I used to say, you really got to wear your name badge at church. And she said, well, I had it on all day, just don't feel like taking it off. But it was amazing how many people, even in church, would come up to her and ask for a business card. And so I started doing all kind of crazy things. My name badge, I put it on upside down sometimes. I think Kermon tried that trick one time, and somebody said, hey, your badge is on upside down. Man, I'm glad you helped me figure that out. Let me help you with something. Give them a business card. Whatever you can do to draw attention to yourself, you know, to let people know you sell real estate. You always want to present that image when you're out in public. You always want to let people know. So you want to dress the part, you want to look the part, you want to walk the part, talk the part, and you always want to exploit the opportunities. When you're out on the showing, you be respectful to the clients that you're with, but you're looking for your next client as well. You're looking for that next listing. You're looking for a person who's paying attention to you to see if you can pay attention to them and help them get whatever they want. The wonderful thing about our business is that we're helping people live the American dream. And with that being said, I want to close out because I think we're a little bit over the time that we wanted to spend, but I want to take any questions that you might have. I want you to remember that your homework is to download the buyer's guide, go through working with buyers, look at some of the scripts, be prepared with your questions next week because we're going to go rather quickly through going through the buyer's presentation. And we also wanted to spend some time on writing strategically writing offers, which we're kind of going to cover as we're going through the buyer's consultation. I'm looking forward to having Curtis, Caramon, and you guys who've been kind of like students of mine. I mean, I'm really so proud of you guys for listening, for paying attention, for applying. If you do the business, you'll have a business. If you do what we're telling you to do, you're going to grow your business, guys. And the most exciting thing to me, and I think I speak on behalf of our broker, is for you guys to be successful. Words can't express how proud we are right now. Curtis, you kicking off this year, closing your first $1 million deal, applying all of the principles. Curtis, I know you can do more. And I'm still gonna continue to push you, brother. So I want you to do more, and I want all you guys, all my guys, ladies and gentlemen, on here. Listen, this is not even the sky's the limit. There is no limit. You can make as much money in real estate as you apply yourself to do. And don't rest on your laurels. Don't get that $1 million check. Kurt, as soon as you got that check, what did I say?
Invest it.
I said, invest it, do it. And I said, do it again.
Yeah.
Do it again. And guess what? Curtis got another settlement tomorrow. Great. Let's do it again.
Do it again.
I like congratulating people when they settle, but I mean, if this is what you do, you should be settling so much. We don't got time to keep congratulating you. So let's keep working. Let's hustle. Let's get this thing done. Let's work with these buyers. Let's look for our listings. Let's get a whole ton of listings. Let's make 2021 great, guys.
Okay.
I'm excited. Any questions anybody has in terms of working with buyers? I see a lot of people on the line, but I haven't heard from everybody, but I want to answer any questions that you guys might have, comments, because we're going to close out.
I just want to jump in here and say I'm hyped. Y'all got me real pumped tonight.
Let's go, Angie.
Yeah, I'm real hyped right now. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. Yeah, I'm about to get it.
I'm excited.
I'm about to get it.
Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, like Sher was saying, print out that buyer consultation, print it out. Don't just digitally print it, keep it at you and read it, look through it.
Anybody else hype? Let's go. Who else got something to say? Let's say it.
This is Margaret and Curtis. I just want you to know you opened the year with $1 million. I plan to close the year with $1 million.
Let's get it.
Let's do it.
Yes, brother.
Let's go.
Okay.
All right, let's go. I love it. I love cutting them big checks. I love it.
This is Rhonda.
Stop the zeros.
I'm excited on closing 2 deals at the end of the month. This is Rhonda.
Let's go, Rhonda. Let's go. Let's keep
Get
closing.
the money.
Let's keep closing.
Yep, I'm trying to do that every month.
Don't try. Do it. Do it. Apply yourself. You can do it.
I also got the Miracle Morning book. And so it's been a successful first week.
Excellent.
Let's go.
Excellent. That's wonderful.
Anybody else? And Margaret, I want to thank you. You're working hard for us and working hard with my clients. And guys, this is what I like to do. Anytime I get a buyer, I'm telling you, if you're around Mr. Porter, and I get a buyer, I'm gonna work with you. I'm gonna teach you how to do it. Now everybody not easy, but we're gonna make sure that you get your feet wet. And Curtis started out working with me. I gave him so many buyers. He came back, started negotiating for higher profit. That's when I had to cut him loose. I said, wait a minute, that's my buyer, buddy. He said, you can't go get your own now. I said, I like the way you're thinking, but there's a whole lot of other people that would love to have what you get. He was good at closing them, but but hey, I'm proud of you, man. I want everybody listen, and trust me, it's all love here. We're competitive in a fun way, but we're going to do everything to make sure that you're successful. Anybody else? All right, guys. Well, listen, enjoy the rest of your evening. Be safe. Our country is going through a lot. Just be safe and pray, man. If you don't know how to pray, pray. Learn how to pray. You know, we need a lot of prayer in this country right now. And so, guys, we believe in prayer. We're going to close out with a prayer. I don't know if we've been doing that, but that's what we're supposed to do at Porterhouses, and we always have done, and that's what we're going to continue to do. So I'm going to ask, let's see, Caramon.
All right.
Here you go, Caramon. Hey, Caramon, close us out with a prayer real quick.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, brother.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this time. We thank you for what our eyes have seen and what our ears have heard. We thank you for this fellowship. We thank you for this business. We thank you for this leadership. And Father, we know that you have said that our success is assured. You have us. We are blessed in the city. We're blessed in the fields. We're blessed when we come. We're blessed when we go. So Father, we just ask that you would give us the mindset, the proper mindset to put you first, to take care of our families, and to do what we need to do. Give us clarity of thought and clarity of vision as we go into 2021. Father, we want to get it done in 2021. We thank you. We praise you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Whatever you're doing, level it up.
Amen.
We're here for you. And listen, let me tell you guys something. Don't be hitting us with that. Oh, we're not gonna call Jasmine and Shay. We don't want to bother you. That's our job, isn't it, Curtis?
That's why I know what I know.
Curtis harasses us to death. Caramon harasses us to death.
Yes,
Margaret, I harass Margaret to death. That's my homie. Thank you, Margaret, for helping me out. Ronnie, she harasses Jazz. I love it. Naima harasses. Ronnie, everybody harasses. We love it. That's what we're here for. Call Curtis. Yeah. Tasha, where you been? I want you to harass me more.
You ain't said nothing but a word.
Okay. Paul again.
You might have said the wrong word to me.
No, harass us. Miss T, harass us. Angela, let's harass us. Susan, harass us.
I'm calling you tomorrow.
You can call me now. I'm ready. Let's do this.
Tonight, I can't do it. It's been too much. But tomorrow, you get a call.
Right. I still harass him.
You do.
I still harass him. Hey.
And I answer the phone, and if I can't answer, I'll call you right back. I promise. All right. So anyway, guys, give us a call. We're here for you. This is what we do. You deserve the best, and we're gone. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.